Hey there, my name is Chris Acton with Acton Creative, and this is a handwoven experience. And in this episode, I'm taking it way back to the basics, and I'm going to talk about throwing a shuttle. Now, if you're a beginner who has just purchased a loom, you may be like, okay, now what? What do I do with this? Well, throwing a shuttle is a core element in the whole process. And you have to do it over and over and over again, thousands and thousands of times to create your gorgeous fabric. So your job, as you're just starting out, is to discover what technique works best for you. So my job today is to give you just a few little tidbits of information so that can help you on your way as you're unearthing your personal style for how you want to throw a shuttle, because you're going to need to do it a lot. Your job is to find a method that is comfortable, that is easy, that is fun, and you can do consistently. So let's get to it, shall we? Here I have two different styles of shuttles that we're going to talk about today. The first one, this is called a rug shuttle, and you will see that my weft yarns are wound directly onto it. It's the same kind of style as a stick shuttle, a rag shuttle, a ski shuttle. They all function this same way, where the weft is wound directly onto the shuttle. Now, I also have what's called a boat shuttle, which kind of looks like a canoe, right? Look at that nice shape. And with a boat shuttle, the charm of this is that there's a little bobbin that slides in, and the bobbin holds, you see it from there, the bobbin holds the weft just like that. So as you can imagine, because they function differently, the boat shuttle then is going to automatically release the weft as we go, whereas this style, the rug shuttle, is not. So there's a couple things to watch with each of those. So let's talk about the actual process of throwing a shuttle back and forth, back and forth. Now, when you are weaving, you can see here I'm sitting at the front of the loom. Here are my warp yarns, my beater bar, my shafts. Here's your orientation. So as you are getting ready to throw a shuttle, you have to separate your warp yarns, right? So I've got some that are up and some that are down per whatever pattern I am working on. And my job then is to slide this shuttle from one side to the other evenly and clearly, so that I'm not jumping through any of the warp yarns, right? Now, for me, I tend to think that you don't have to be aggressive about it, that it can just slide along. This whole bottom row kind of acts as a little kind of skating rink, and your shuttle should just kind of, slip slide from one side to the other, just like that. I don't think you have to be aggressive or fling it through the air. No. You can just use these yarns down here to support your shuttle as you go from one side to the other, right? And did you hear it? It kind of unraveled as I pulled it away from the fabric so that you have enough kind of lead for the next time. Now, let's talk about our other shuttle here. Like I said, this has the weft yarns wound directly on. And this you have to pay a little more attention because you need to make sure you have enough inches here so that your shuttle is going to go from, it's going to clear it. It's going to go from one side to the other. So let me just show you what that looks like if it doesn't. I'll choke it up just a little bit. So let's say I only have that many inches, and I'm going to send it through like this, and it gets stuck. Like I don't have enough inches. It's pulling over here. It's not going to make it through the whole kind of tunnel that we've created, the shed space we've created. So that's one of the things to kind of watch for with this style of loom, is to make sure that you're always giving yourself plenty of inches so that you can safely move from one side to the other. Just like that. Now, let's talk about, with the motion of throwing the shuttle back and forth, your edges, because that's something you're always kind of watching for, right? Is how are you keeping the edges of your fabric consistent? Now, there's a couple schools of thought here. I'll show you my version, and then we'll talk about the other option. And you can play with both. Find what you like, because in my opinion, there's no wrong way as long as you are weaving. That is really the important part here. So I'll show you kind of how I tackle this. I like to take the shuttle in one hand. Like I said, I've separated my warp yarns. I'm going to send it through, and I like to catch it with my index finger. Have a little loop here and place it just like that. You don't want to pull so it's real tight, and you also don't need to be particularly loose. You can kind of find that sweet spot where you just place it where you want, pull the beater bar, off you go. However, The other school of thought is that you don't get your fingers involved at all. So you take your shuttle like this, you put it in, and the idea is you want to create like a 45-degree angle from this spot here to where it kind of goes off the fabric. And without using your fingers then, pulling the beater bar forward, and that will kind of give the yarn enough space to fall into place where you want it to. So those are two techniques that you can try to see what you like better. And like I said, for me, there's no wrong answer. It's just a matter of what technique feels good, is comfortable, you enjoy, and you can do over and over and over again. Now, something I wanted to point out is that as you are weaving along, the shed space is going to get kind of smaller and smaller, because here I have, I don't know, probably 8 inches left. But imagine if you're going right up to the last little bit and you only have a few inches here. Sometimes the shed space isn't so clean. It can get a little messy. It's a little treacherous then for your shuttle to go from side to side. Here's what I'd like to suggest, is that if you feel like you have trouble with your warp yarns are sagging, for whatever reason, you feel like you don't have a lot of space here to work with, instead of taking your shuttle straight across like this, just give the nose a little tip down, a little tip, because you don't want your yarns to go flying through the bottom, and you also don't want them to go up through the top. So if you have any kind of stragglers in there, or your shed space isn't quite as clean as you want it to be, instead of going straight across, just give the nose just a little tiny tip down, and that will kind of keep the top ones up, and your shuttle will go kind of below them, right? So just give it a little, just like that, easy, easy peasy. Now, if that is the case too, one of the better answers, honestly, is to just forward your fabric. If you get to a point where you feel like you might be skipping over some warp yarns, just forward your fabric so you give yourself a better shed space from there. So that's what I've got for you, my friend. Those are my thoughts on throwing a shuttle. And for an experienced weaver, we just kind of take it for granted because we've done it thousands and thousands and thousands of times. But if you're just starting out, it can feel really awkward. You're like, what am I looking for? What goes where? I don't know how this is supposed to go. So take your time, try a couple different techniques for you, find what you like, what is comfortable, and what you can do over and over and over and over and over again. Go from there. All right, my friend, have a wonderful week. Happy weaving.